Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
What happens when a team that everyone left for dead decides it refuses to die? When a roster held together by tape and emergency signings stares down a powerhouse and doesn't blink? The Atlanta Dream were supposed to roll over the Indiana Fever, but they forgot to account for one player who was about to have the game of her life.
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to.
It all came down to the final seconds. Atlanta gets the ball in, but it's suddenly swatted away. The ball is loose, and then it's in the hands of Lexie Hull. With that one steal, a team that had been absolutely beset by major injuries all year long, a team that had no business being here, was suddenly on the verge of the WNBA Semifinals. The impossible was happening right before everyone's eyes.
You talked about the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday. Just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win or go home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. You know, we're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
But inside that locker room, this wasn't impossible. It was inevitable. This was a team that had been through so much. Their bond was forged in absolute fire. While the world saw a broken down roster, they saw a group whose confidence had shockingly never wavered. They had a grit that couldn't be scouted, a collective heart that beat louder every time someone counted them out. And that belief was about to pay off in the biggest way imaginable.
Now this one on Lexie Hull got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexie could have played. If you watch this play here, Rhyne Howard is going down, Lexie Hull's guarding her, Rhyne goes behind her back, Lexie doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time, she has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexie played here.
The desperation was electric. In a win-or-go-home game, every dribble, every pass, every shot is magnified. Their backs were against the wall and they knew it. That hunger, that primal need to survive another day was their fuel. They had to value every single possession as if it were their last, because for their season it very well could have been. But what no one outside the organization understood was just how deep the damage really went.
Inside, Boston.
This wasn't just a team dealing with a few sprained ankles. This was a MASH unit. The Indiana Fever's roster had been decimated. Their star point guard, a veteran leader, was out for the season with a torn ACL. Their starting forward, a key defensive anchor, went down with a stress fracture just weeks before the playoffs. They were signing players off the street, holding tryouts for anyone who could still run. The team on the floor was a shadow of what it was meant to be, a collection of backups and last-minute hires. They were, by all accounts, the walking wounded, and that's what made their stand against Atlanta so DMN unbelievable.
To Jones. Throws it up. No good.
You don't always see a player's genius on the stat sheet, but the signs were there. Early in the fourth, Atlanta's star guard, Rhyne Howard, went behind her back, trying to shake her defender. But Lexie Hull didn't bite. She backpedaled perfectly, her hands straight in the air. A textbook display of disciplined defense that forced a tough, contested shot. It was a subtle moment, but it was a sign of the defensive masterpiece she was painting. A quiet declaration that she would not be broken.
Just picked up her second foul, so Hillman and Gray each with 2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aaliyah Boston.
Mitchell.
With the clock hitting 0, the final shot goes up and clanks off the rim. The horn sounds. It's over. The Indiana Fever, the team that was never supposed to make it this far, had done it. They were moving on. Players dropped to their knees. Fans stood in stunned silence, and a legendary underdog story was born. But the seeds of this victory were planted long before the final buzzer, in the moments when it looked like all hope was lost.
Attacking from the outside and now the inside. And Mitchell's been quiet for a while. Not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston. Again, the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the three-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey Mitchell.
The Fever's offense was supposed to run through the dynamic duo of Kelsey Mitchell and rookie phenom Aaliyah Boston. Mitchell, the veteran gunslinger, and Boston, the dominant force inside, had developed a chemistry that was the heart of the team. Their two-player game was designed to be unstoppable, but Atlanta came in with a game plan designed to break that connection, and for a while it was working perfectly.
This is just 4 of 16 from the floor in game 2. That's terrific, Paul.
Kelsey Mitchell is one of the most explosive guards in the league, a player who can get a bucket from anywhere on the floor. But the Dreamer hounding her, sending double teams and trapping her off every screen. They were determined to make anyone else beat them. She was quiet for long stretches of the game, and you could feel the Fever's offense grinding to a halt. The life was being sucked out of their attack.
For Atlanta has not been good. 40%. Maybe a little higher than that, 45.
Indiana electing not to call a timeout. Boston almost gave it away. Into Boston for the lead. She hits it. Indiana goes up.
Boston gets it. Mitchell is denied, but then Jordan Canada falls. Bree Jones almost gets it, but that's a second defender that's gone down, and Bree Jones.
As Mitchell struggled, a palpable sense of dread began to creep in. The offense devolved into stagnant, one-on-one plays, passes were hesitant, shots were forced, and the confident flow they had earlier was gone. You could see the frustration on the players' faces as the shot clock wound down again and again. It looked like Atlanta had solved the puzzle. The crowd grew quiet, and for a few minutes it felt like the Cinderella story was about to strike midnight.
That Aaliyah Boston has to really body up with Bree Jones in that situation.
Tasha Howard slashing in. Sims got around the Ryan Howard reach to find Natasha Howard.
The court, Odyssey Sims has 7 points, 3 assists. She's looking to attack.
This is where the legend of Aaliyah Boston grew. In a previous game, she made a play that showed she was no ordinary rookie. She caught the ball at the high post, and instead of forcing a shot into a double team, she delivered a perfect pass to a cutting teammate for an easy layup. It was a beautiful, intelligent read, a sign of a basketball mind-wise. Beyond its years, that intelligence, that calm under pressure, was about to change the game.
A complete skill set in all that she can do.
It's the first miss for Atlanta as Howard could not get it to go. Odyssey Sims, this is what head coach Stephanie White wants from Odyssey. Ray with 10 points so far. Sims dribbled right into trouble and was able to score and get fouled.
With the Fever trailing late in the offense in shambles, the ball went into Boston's hands. She'd been quiet, but now, with the game on the line, she made her move. She faced up, hit a quick spin move around her defender, and laid it in for the lead. The rookie had just hit the biggest shot of her career, silencing the entire arena and giving Indiana a lead no one thought they'd ever see. The impossible was starting to feel real.
Griner posting up, setting a screen ultimately that Shea Penny ran into.
Anytime Atlanta needs a bucket, they look to her, and she's wanting the ball as well with the last 4.
But this wasn't a finesse game. It was an absolute brawl. Bodies were flying, and players were hitting the hardwood with brutal force. On one possession, 2 different Atlanta players went down trying to stop the Fever's attack. This wasn't just basketball. It was a war of attrition, a street fight for every inch of the court. The game was becoming a pure test of will.
None of the signees, because of injuries in the game, As we approach a minute to go, aerial powers in.
The bench.
All the injured players to not just cheerlead, but also to give advice to all the newbies. Big block by Powers.
Good help side by Aerial Powers.
And the refs were swallowing their whistles. In a game this physical, you'd expect the fouls to pile up, but the officials were letting them play. Every drive to the basket was met with a shoulder or a hip check that went uncalled. This style heavily favored the bigger, more physical Atlanta Dream. The Fever had a choice: complain and get pushed around, or start pushing back. They chose the latter, transforming from a skilled team into a group of brawlers who refused to be intimidated. Atlanta, however, wasn't going down without a fight. Every time the Fever seemed to pull ahead, the Dream would answer. Their star player, Shea Petty, demanded the ball, hitting tough, contested shots to keep her team alive. She was a one-woman wrecking crew, draining fall-away jumpers and tough layups with defenders draped all over her. It felt like she was personally trying to crush Indiana's Dream, and the game remained on a razor's edge.
26% in the first two games.
Good help by Alicia Gray there on Howard.
Hull.
Because of all the injuries, the Fever's bench was filled with players who were just signed to the team. One of them was Aerial Powers, a veteran brought in to provide some stability. But she did more than that. With Atlanta driving for a go-ahead bucket, Powers came from the weak side and delivered a monster block, a play that absolutely electrified her team and showed that even the newbies were all in. It was a statement play from a player no one expected to make one.
A high ball screen has worked for Kelsey Mitchell, but that time she gives it up to Hull. And how about that shot by Lexie Hull?
But the secret to their success wasn't just on the court. The team's injured stars, the ones in street clothes on the bench, had become a second set of coaches. They weren't just cheerleading, they were giving direct, crucial advice to the replacement players. They pointed out defensive rotations, called out Atlanta's plays before they happened, and kept the newbies calm in the face of immense pressure. The team's brain was on the bench, guiding the heart that was on the floor.
Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
That guidance translated into a defensive masterpiece. The team's secret wasn't some complex offensive scheme. It was a simple, suffocating defense. They swarmed, they helped, and they challenged every single shot. Players like Alicia Gray were making huge defensive stops on Atlanta's best players, diving for loose balls and taking charges. This team's identity was forged in pure effort and grit, a collective refusal to give up an easy basket.
Are heading to the semifinals of the WNBA for the first time in 10 years. Kelsey Mitchell said, all that we've got, and we have all that we need. Cobbling together this roster, and here they are, about to be in the Final Four.
What you thought was impossible is possible. A team that has been devastated by injury, rallying on the road. One more time.
Then came the shot no one saw coming. With the shot clock winding down, Kelsey Mitchell was trapped. She shoveled the ball to Lexie Hull, who was standing just inside the arc. Hull is a defensive specialist, the last person you'd expect to take a big shot. Her season average was barely 5 points per game, but without hesitating, she rose up and buried the jumper. The bench exploded. It was the ultimate anything is possible moment.
Y'all are a tough bunch of. I mean, I cannot even put into words how proud I am. It's like the toughness that it takes, like the gut checks that it takes. Like, y'all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we've been through all of it, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter the time. You always put your best foot forward. You always get to the next play. And it's always someone different.
And that set the stage for the final play. With Atlanta needing one basket to win, they got the ball in. But Lexie Hull, riding the high of her clutch shot, saw the play developing before anyone else. She jumped the passing lane, knocked the ball away, and came up with the steal. It was the single greatest play of her career, a moment of basketball genius that sealed the game and cemented her place in Fever history.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the releases yet. They caught us when we were at a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
But the steal wasn't the end. It was chaos. Hull secured the ball as the final seconds ticked away. Atlanta's players lunged at her in a desperate attempt to foul, but she protected the ball like her life depended on it. The clock ticked, 2-1, and then the final buzzer blared through the arena. It was a sound of pure relief, the definitive end to a fight that went down to the very last fraction of a second. The celebration could finally begin. This wasn't just a playoff win. The Indiana Fever were heading to the semifinals for the first time in a decade. A 10-year nightmare of losing seasons, bad draft picks, and shattered hopes was over. A roster cobbled together with overlooked players and led by a rookie had just taken down a giant. What everyone thought was impossible had just become their reality. After the game, the emotion was raw. One player said it best: "Y'all are a tough bunch. It doesn't matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter the time. You always put your best foot forward." This wasn't a team built on talent alone. It was a team built on guts, on the shared belief that they had already been through the worst, so nothing on the court could possibly break them. But here's the most shocking part. While the world was celebrating their miracle, the team was already moving on. They acknowledged that the last time they played their next opponent, they got whooped. There was no massive celebration, no satisfaction. There was only a quiet, dangerous focus. They had their sights set on something bigger, proving this was no fluke. This win wasn't the destination. It was just the beginning. In the end, this was more than just a basketball game. It was a story about a team that the world had forgotten, a team that had been devastated by forces beyond their control. They rallied on the road behind an unsung hero and a rookie star to achieve something no one believed in but themselves. It was a victory for every underdog, a reminder that sometimes the team with the most heart is the most dangerous team of all.